Afternoon everybody. Right, okay, so I wasn't planning on doing a video today, so I'm going to quickly slap this back on here just for a second, but I am about to do a video for a bloody good reason. But I'll let you all join before I talk you through exactly what is happening and what I've just had turn up from the courier. But let's let you all join the video first of all. There's a couple of very interested people that are going to want to know exactly what is going on with this. So, geez, that didn't take long, did it? We got 5, 6. Come on, guys, keep joining. Keep joining. Oh, by the way, if you sent me over some requests, I mean, I haven't forgotten about you. I know somebody has taken the slot that I put up this afternoon, so thank you. I'm not ignoring you. Emails will come through. If you're the first person to have taken it, then wicked. Right, 15, 16. How you doing, Steve? Good to see you watching, buddy. Yeah, so, wasn't planning on doing a video today at all, if I'm completely honest. I spent most of my day waiting on the courier to turn up with these beauties, and while that's been going on, I've been building RCA cables and pitch control units, basically. So, kept me busy. Joe Rogan on in the background. How you doing, Craig? Yeah, Joe Rogan on in the background with Bob Lazar's video, absolute legend. But yeah, so these turned up from the courier about 40 minutes ago, and opened the boxes up. Now, my customer was unaware. How you doing, Billy? He was unaware. Happy New Year, guys, as well. Yeah, my customer was unaware that these decks weren't original. He bought these through lockdown. Spent quite a bit of money on them as well. From plugging them in, first glance of them looking, I knew exactly what I was looking at. And yeah, I'm going to take the camera off of my little stand thing here. We're going to wander over to my other little workbench, which is just, well, over here, because it's my main one now. There's 3 of them here. And I'm going to show you exactly what we're dealing with. So give us a second, guys. And what we're also going to do, I'm going to tear, well, I might try and do both of them if I've got enough time, but I'm definitely going to be tearing one of these decks down live. Yeah, check this out. Right, hang on a second. So what we have here, beautiful people, hang on. It's a pair of Mark IIs, 1210 Mark IIs, apparently. Ignore this, ignore the trims. Ignore the arms, don't know what they are yet until I have a good look at them. But let's give you a brief run through. These have been vinyl wrapped. They've been vinyl wrapped. How you doing, Ricky? How you doing, Ian? Yeah, you can see they're a bit dusty. Look, wear and tear, this sort of shit happens. I see it all the time. But these have been vinyl wrapped. And LEDs have been changed. For a start, crazy brightness. Stock LED on the strobe, blue in the 33 and 45. Intermittent, yes, now not working. This has been intermittent since the minute it was done. I turned up. Pitch controls are the, well, I'm presuming they're originals that have been re-greased very badly. But for the eagle-eyed among you, who know what to look for, you can see already that the graphics are not original. But to make things even funnier, I actually measured the distance between the top and bottom of each graphic on both of these decks. They're both completely different, left to right, on both turntables. So I don't understand how they've managed to cock this up at all, to be honest. The vinyl wrap in general is pretty poor. I mean, you can see around the 33 and the 45 button how the vinyl is actually lifting up around it. That is where he hasn't cut in the vinyl enough. So when he's popped the 33 and 45 assembly, plastic assembly, back into the deck, the yeah, you can see where the vinyl's picked. And if I keep pushing this down, you'll see how it will start to move. There you go, look. So that's vinyl. These little bits you see here. That's vinyl wrap. Very poor job. The 45 adapters underneath of these, if you look very carefully, it's the first thing I noticed. You see this? So what's happened here, he's bridged the vinyl wrap. So what technically happens, some of these guys, when they wrap these, they tend to, instead of cutting all around and being very gentle, not to scratch into anything, they simply cut a score across. They then heat and bend in around here. Then they cut another section of vinyl that they cut around this and pop it in. And that is what you're left with. So that one's that bad. This one over here with a real chunky 45 adapter is just as bad as well, as you can see. So you can see where it's all starting to pick, or it's all starting to lift. It's just shocking, right? Then what I noticed, when you lift the platter off underneath, where he's bent round the vinyl, going all around the intersections of the turntable itself, he scored the crap out of the inside of one of them, scratched the hell out of the plinth. But the other thing I'm intrigued about as well is if you look really closely at this, if you look at the edge here, can you see how one of them looks higher than the other? Can you see this? You see how the turntable, instead of it going straight down and then straight, it looks as if it's round. That shouldn't be round. That should be straight. This tells me that the paint's been removed on these, and if you look at the corner here, it's a pretty high chance that it may very well have been as well. So, should we get this one stripped down, guys? Because the other thing that makes me laugh is he couldn't be asked. Whoever's done this could not be bothered to take the pitch trims off of either of these turntables. Spent all this money on them, right? Buying these decks, sells them. Could not be asked to take the pitch trims off and put brand new pitch trims on. And the thing is, it's actually harder work keeping the original trims on decks when you try to cut around the outlays. Purely for the fact of you've got the pitch trim in the way. And if you score or scratch anything on this, you're going to cut into the trim. So what makes more sense? Cutting around an original, which is already scuffed, shitty and grimy, as you can see, or just taking it off, clean all the adhesive off and pop a new trim on after you've cut round it. How hard is that? But then to make it even better, look at the centre. Now you see where it's all scored here? This, guys, is actually a vinyl sheet, right? So you can see where it's been bent round on the top down to the edges. But there's actually also vinyled on top of the pitch trim here as an individual piece, because you can see how bad it is. Over the top of a really badly worn pitch trim. Again, wouldn't you just replace them? How fucking bodgy is that? I'm sorry, but credit where credit's due. If this wrap was nice, I'd be taking a picture going, brilliant, looks really good. But I'm sorry, if you can't level out graphics, I mean, look, doesn't make a difference because the wrap's coming off of this. But if I get my caliper here, right, that's level there, and do it on the other side here, that one's not right. Because you can see here. Fucking shocking. Other one? What we got on this one? That one there is actually lower. Look, that's higher. Oh, sorry, guys. That one there is actually higher. Look, that's set lower. And it's actually spot on that side. So this one here is off at an angle as well. Right, okay. I don't know who's trying to call me, guys. If you're trying to call me, I'm very sorry, but you're not going to be picking up this phone during a video. Let's stop fucking around. Shall we just strip this turntable down, guys? Hang on, let's get this phone on the stand first of all. I'm going to angle this down so you guys can actually see this. But I've got to do this in such a way that I can still read your comments. So give us a second. Fucking hell, we've got 50 odd people on here. Wicked. Good to see you all watching, guys. Whether you do this for a living, actually appreciate the work you do and do it properly, or if you're just someone that likes using decks, thank you for watching. Right, let's get the turntable over here. We'll strip it down. We'll have a look at the work, shall we? Give us a second. I'm going to pick this thing up. But so far, I'm not very impressed with that. I don't think anybody would be if they got this fucking thing through the door. What I may also do is take the wrap off and see the state of the actual turntable underneath of this, so we can all see this live. I thought if I keep it like that, so we can all see it here, yeah? Let's think of the obvious bits. So 45 adapter off. Well, fucking hell, the weights don't even really feel like they're doing anything at all in terms of actually locking in. Right, cap cover, original felt. Right. How we doing, Sean? How you doing, Emrys? Carbon, you did, mate. It's still puck up wicked. How you doing, Mr. Huggy Pear? We've missed you, mate. Mate, I missed you too. Your decks are still here. I have to check them over before you come and grab them. Right, before I took the platter off this time, everybody, I actually did have to give this a couple of tweaks with a little rubber mallet. Purely for the fact of it wasn't going anywhere and it wasn't coming undone. So, it's just a bog standard platter. Nothing seems to be too bad. I mean, some of the line work on the centre does seem a little bit buckled. I have to straighten some of that out just a tiny bit. Yeah, I know you do. Don't worry about it, Huggy. I'm not going to charge you storage, mate. You're already at 760 quid storage fees. I'm going to lock it now, mate. It's been nearly, what, a year and a half? We'll leave it at that, shall we? Right, let's get this, put this back over here where I got it from. Let's do this another way, because it doesn't really matter too much. Where's my... Here we go. Right, I don't usually do this like this, but I'm going to use, for this occasion, we're going to use a deck saver. Now, if you're very clever and you know what you're doing with these and you're crafty in the way that you do this, you can get away with deck savers. I use these when I'm stripping down plinths. Not actually stripping them as in rebuilding them or taking them apart. I use these for actually when I'm doing the sanding, removing paint, it's just very handy to keep it in one place. So, little tip for anybody out there that is doing things like this. We're going to do that in a second. Rich, how you doing, Rich? Good to see you watching, bud. Right, so let's get my trusty iFixit kit first of all, with the bits are absolutely, no, fuck it, won't use that. Doesn't matter. Let's take this off properly. Use me little handheld bit. John, how you doing, mate? Sad to see you. There'll be sound. Your work is magic. Thank you very much. Right. Care and attention, obviously taking them apart. In this respect, knowing everything's going to go, but it doesn't matter too much about the cosmetics on these, purely for the fact of it's going to look absolutely nothing like this when this customer gets these back. I'm just more inclined to see how bad they are internally. Now, I know, this is the thing, I actually know who's done the work on these. And I found out before my customer even mentioned anything, and obviously I can't mention anything in that respect, but needless to say, not very fucking impressed at all. If you offer vinyl wrapping, do it fucking properly and take your time. So what have we got then? What have we got? Nothing, I'm telling you now, nothing has been replaced on this board. Nothing at all. Cable ties, obviously, they're not original, I can tell that, but you can tell a difference between the colour of the cable tie by the shade of the white, by how old these decks are on the actual power cable unit, because the power cable that's on this is the original Kawasaki cable with a shitty moulded or non-moulded UK plug that you can remove. So this is on both turntables as well, guys, so he hasn't actually bothered to replace the power cables on these either. But one of them has got a really faded, horrible cable on, which is actually twisted. We'll get you a video of this in just a second. In fact, I'll do it now. Hang on, we'll do it now. Do it properly. There's no hurry with any of this, so hang on. Right, turning the camera around, guys. So let's show you the difference. You see these cable ties here? Obviously, you can see by how clean and crisp they are, these aren't original. Right? Because if you look at the original cable tie here, you see how it's slightly different shade? You might not be able to make it out properly on the camera, but that is definitely a more yellowy shade than what you've got here, here, and here. Because you've got to think, this is obviously for your pop-up, which is obviously, that's probably going to have either a cable or a resistor on there. So that's for the pop-up. Start and stop assembly comes through here, comes all the way here, and obviously popped in here. Cable tie, and cable tie is non-original. This one here is original. So you can probably tell the difference now if you look really carefully. That's original, that's original. These aren't. But what I was talking about with twisted power cable, look at this. So obviously when you do wraps on these, I've seen this so many fucking times, some people don't even bother taking anything out. And what I mean by that is tend to take out the 3 retaining screws for the main board, the 3 longer bolts that go straight into the main board through the main spindle itself, lift the whole thing up, take the spindle out and put it back down so the whole section is flat, and then apply the vinyl wrap over the top, which again is a very lazy way of doing anything with these. But again, what looks like what's happened here, because I've not seen this with anything standard. He's obviously undone the screws to take all this out, taken the board out, put it all back in, because you can take it out when you remove the plug. But this is obviously wound round a few times, no matter how he's put it back in, and he's not noticed it and put it back exactly as it was with a wound round cable. So that's not going to be there because it's going to have a brand new cable attached. So it doesn't make any difference. Now, in terms of parts on these decks, I can tell you now without even pissing about with this, people reflow these, okay? When I say reflow, what some people claim to do is they remove all of the old solder. Then when they turn the board the other way around, they remove all the old solder, clean up the board, and then apply new solder after they've removed the old on every single component. Now, I don't believe that for a second that half the people that say this actually do that. This is probably going to be one of those decks. You've got the original quartz crystal in place, and I know that for a fact by that little mark you've got on there in blue. They've all got either a marking on them or they're in a certain position. You just know that's still original, okay? That's original. It's got all the original capacitors on there, because if they were new, they wouldn't be bent like this for a fucking start. You've got the original diodes, top and bottom here. They would not have been replaced because you uprate these as standard. I'm looking at something you're not going to be looking at, but yep, that hasn't been replaced either. Right, okay. So just from looking at this, this looks like this board has been taken out of this deck just so we can clean it and wrap it. But what I was saying about the wrap, if you look around here, all the dirt marks and things, obviously he's cut this round and heated it. And you can see where he's gouged the hell out of this with his blade. Look at this, look at that. That's been gouged with a blade, because that's obviously the offcut for the wrap, because you can see where he's heated it round. But the problem that you've got, I don't know if you can see this on camera, can you see how the vinyl's starting to lift? It's got certain areas here that are picking, certain areas that have lifted. It's not even a straight cut. It's just, that's just shambolic. Look at this, look, you see the difference? Near the strobe over here as well. Not impressed with that. Here, look. Hasn't even covered all right into the edge, because he knows if he goes down there and he cuts it straight, it's going to pick up and hit the platter. But look at this. This bit here. The thing is, if the wrap comes loose and it's not adhesive down properly, that is going to hit your platter, and you're going to hear that. And if you're not careful, if you're very unlucky, that will actually touch your platter and actually affect the speed when it's moving around. And you'll audibly hear it. Not through your speakers, obviously, but you'll have to hear it when you move it. So, first glance, not very happy with that. Look at this, look. Look at the... I mean, how? How do you fucking do this? How can anyone in their right mind do this? Look at how that goes from straight round up here and straight back round, and he's still look, you can see it, and he's still managed to cut into it. Oh, I don't get it. Right, let's put this back on its stand for a second. Let's read through some of your beautiful comments at the same time, guys, shall we? Now, this is not in any way outlining one person. Not to turn around and saying this is the person that's done it. Because if anybody is waiting for me to turn around and tell you who's done the work, I'm simply not going to be doing that. So if you are waiting for that, don't waste your time. I'm not going to be doing that. All I'm doing on this is simply taking this apart and seeing the level of the work. So we'll be very, very careful. Just quickly doing this. And look, if I nick cables or anything in the process, they're going to get replaced. It's just ridiculous. I hate people that get ripped off. I don't hate people that get ripped off. I hate people that rip people off. It's just fucking ridiculous. Power cable doesn't make any difference. That's going to be going anyway. Let's do this the easy way, shall we? Because this person could have quite easily done this, and I'm going to show you how it should have gone on as well. So cable tie off. We're going to cut that close to the soldering connector here. That's going to come off. Now, like I said, this has been twindled round. Now, if you can see this carefully on the camera, if you imagine I'm doing this with the cable and I'm unwinding this, you can see the two prongs, how they've been wounded. They shouldn't have been like that. That's not how they are from standard. Power cable can be removed, because all I'm going to do with this for the time being is replace all of this anyway. That can come off. That can go down. In fact, we don't even need to do that. We're going to cut that off. Let's use my stripper. That can go to one side, that can come off, that's going to be reused, or I might just put a new silicone tube on. New grommet for that. Power cable can walk through, spin it around my fucking head and straight on the floor with that, 'cause it's a piece of shit and you should know better. Pitch, 3345, pop-up assembly. If I can see if I can get that underneath, I can, brilliant. That's that. We'll leave all the thermal adhesive and things on there for the time being. Let's undo this. Right, let's do what I said. So like I said before, this is an old deck saver that I use just for sanding things down. This is in no way used by me when I'm doing anything intricate. This is just purpose of video. When I strip things down, I don't touch these. But what we'll do, turn it the other way around, take your feet off. See, the thing is, I actually, as much as I hate people that do things like this, you know, don't do the job properly, I enjoy repairing them, guys, as everybody knows. And this makes me happy. As much as I feel sorry for people that have been pissed about, this makes me happy because I enjoy doing it. So you've got the 4 retaining longer screw bolts that go into the corners. We're also going to check and see if the corner for the start and stop assembly has been over tightened, because what tends to happen as well, every single 4 of these, you've got the front right and the 2 rear longer screws. These, you can put them in with a drill, it's fine, but you've got to be careful. I tend to do these by hand, but I'm doing them in this position, I don't know what to expect. When you put these back on, you should really use a hand Phillips screwdriver tool, cross-threaded screw, because if you do these too tight, what do you think is going to happen? It goes into a plastic assembly. It's the only part on here that goes into a plastic assembly. You do that too tight, it cracks the thread, game over. You either replace the assembly or you put it back together with a screw that's not on there, which I've done quite a few times for people, I can assure you of that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these in total you have on the edges. This is what screws into the weighted section. 6 screws, and the containment bit. And we've got these. How's everybody doing then? I've literally, like I say, I've been waiting for a courier all day to get these to me. It's been an absolute palaver. Couriers in general at the moment, I feel sorry for them. Probably got loads of backlash and things over New Year and Christmas. People ordering things from different shops. People like me, you know, who want things now. How you doing, Dawes? How you doing, Andy? How some people sleep at night, you tell me. Dr. Woodrow, fucking hell, Sean. Andy, not my decks, but feel emotional. Guys, these, I don't know what to expect when I look at these inside. I'm hoping for once I'm surprised. I really am, but I lose faith in people now. I really do. Let's see how easy this comes off, shall we? Because all the screws have been removed. You've got to be very careful when removing the edges of this. That doesn't sound very good. Make sure it's a certain thing I'm looking for. Right, you guys can't see this. Hang on. I knew it from the fucking moment I saw the wraps. You guys can't see this. Hang on a second. Right, that can go over here. It's going to be stuck on one of my workbenches. Hang on a second. This is another one for the collection. Put this one here, shall we? What have we got then? So service, new wrap, blue LED, red LEDs, new on-off cap. 2020. Fucking okay. Right, so that's now removed. Let's see what we've got then, shall we? Base can go over here as well. What have we got? What have we got? So there's anything loose. Usually the sockets are the first ones to go. That's all been tied down. Right, firstly, let's quickly get the camera around here so you guys can see this. So, okay, sockets, that one's got movement, that one's got movement. They have to be tightened, they have to be repositioned and tightened. You then got your main screws that go around the outside that obviously hold down the weighted section. I'd imagine they're okay, but we'll find out that in a minute. The thread on this one here is actually surprisingly okay. That hasn't been too badly tightened up, it looks okay. What I have noticed from first glance though, obviously with this, is you can see the wrap. There's certain bits here just shouldn't have this. That's where the wrap's been bent round, heated around and pushed in. Same thing's been done all the way around the edge here and here as well, in such a way that it heats the edges. Now, I don't class that as a good job, purely for the fact that that's what happens to corners, that you're visible and you can see. It's just not the right way that you wrap a turntable. I'm sorry, you wouldn't wrap a fucking car like this, and you certainly wouldn't wrap a turntable like this, and I know that from my background. Pop-up lamp, hasn't bothered to remove the original felt from underneath. Doesn't really make too much difference. That's obviously been replaced at some point. Really thick bit of heat shrink tubing on that. It's been bent in a certain position, probably to stop it from hitting anything. LEDs have been replaced on this. I know that for a fact, because you can see by the different type of solder that's been used on. And one thing I will say though is the actual 33 and 45 switches on these are shite. They should have been replaced as well. Didn't do that, and you can see that they haven't even been touched. Not even a reflow of solder. That's piss poor as far as I'm concerned. That should be replaced as standard. He hasn't done any of that. Pitch controls look like they've been replaced. Now, I know that for a fact because of the way that the stems are for the LEDs and the fact it's got a clear LED on there, and because of the colour of the solder on here and the style of solder is used. Probably going to either be, it's not a silver solder, that's going to be leaded solder. This hasn't been reflowed at all, and it doesn't look like they have either. Right, okay, let's gut down even further. So hang on a second. Pop this back on its stand again. If I'm waffling, everybody, just tell me, but I'm trying to do this in such a straightforward, easy way to understand before I start tearing down into other bits in this deck. So now I've established from my first thoughts as to who's done the deck. I know that for a fact. I also know that the person that does these decks, watches my video and is probably watching this now. So if you are watching it, my friend, fair play to you. I'm now repairing another one of your turntables. Sorry, but credit where credit is due. Credit is not due with this. Right, okay, again, shitty, yeah, that's the other thing as well. State of these fucking cables. No colour markings on them. There's like insulation tape around one of them. What's that meant to mean then? What colour's grey? What colour's grey on this then? Unbelievable. Unfucking believable. Right, that's that. Here we go. Right, this is where things start getting interesting. So again, the vinyl wrap. Oh, for fuck's sake. Let's take this back off its stand again. Look at this, look. Because he knows it's obviously going to be sitting down underneath the plinth, couldn't even be asked to get that and cut that round. That's not even stuck down. At least it's air release vinyl. But look at this. Look. Now my customer knows that I've not tampered with this in any way. Any fucking way. The other one is sitting there, look. Not tampered with in any way. Seriously? What is the fucking point of leaving these on? So again, fabric felt, self-adhesive felt tyres. These are obviously on the original cables. What part in your head makes you think you should just leave these on? Take them off. Tie them round or tape them down with new felt tape. Jesus, has it, look. That one, again, this one here has been removed. You can see it. So if I get this at an angle, hang on. This is just bloody stupid. Look. Hasn't even taped down. That's the original tape. It's been picked off in such a way that he can put it back down. Unbelievable. Right, okay, let's turn it around again. Christ. This is all good fun, peeps. Let's take off, what am I going to start with? Start and stop assembly. So we have got one cable tie that holds down the main cables that go to the actual switch itself that turns the turntable on and off. Tiny little screw, we're going to put that to one side. Lift, my box just closed and scared the shit out of me. Move that to one side. Again, very gently because I'm not doing this, but I'm going to have to do it anyway. Quicker for a video. Longer screws, you've got 4 longer screws, one for each corner, one retaining one for the middle. And the whole assembly will obviously come out. Now we'll be able to see when I turn this around in a minute what the extent of the actual vinyl wrap is. So again, start and stop switches feel horrific. Sorry, the 33 and 45s. I don't know who in their right mind would let a turntable leave with even just with original switches. I have hundreds of thousands. I've got hundreds of them here. They're not very expensive. I mean, I buy good quality stuff. It's good quality or nothing at all. Because the last thing you want is to get something back and it goes wrong. So why would you bother leaving the originals on? Get good quality switches. Just do it. They feel horrible. That's been oiled instead of greased. Or it looks like lithium. Actually, that looks like lithium grease. I could be wrong. Or petroleum jelly style. Again, I would not have done that. But start and stop assembly. You can hear it with the buttons. Look. Click. Nothing. No, that's shit. That can go over here. Bit of me drink while I'm over here, peeps. Mr. Fletcher, I would definitely be left with around 20 screws if I did this. Mate, honestly, this is the thing people don't understand. Doing what I'm doing here, taking this apart and rebuilding if you were going to either powder coat or wrap or do something of your own design, it's not particularly hard to take them apart. I can get this from taking apart if I by myself, 10-minute job, it's not even that hard. But shouldn't have to do this again. You spend the money, get it done properly. Aaron, nice to see what you fit to my one half out loud. Sean, you wouldn't wrap Christmas presents like this. Great to see your passion. Cheers, Sean. Well, much of my Christmas presents, like we said on the video, mate, weren't that great this year in terms of wrap. Last year's were bang on. Missus couldn't even get into them. Oh yeah, back on the iron brew again, peeps. Got one can of that bad boy left over. Right, so the start and the stop assembly we've removed. Let's do the pop-up. So 2 screws that hold down the actual part of assembly itself. The whole thing should wiggle away and be removed. We have got bent LEDs, so instead of having an SMD or flat panel based, surface mounted based LED, it's bent through the housing. Now there are a couple of colours which are difficult to get hold of, and it is preferred that you bend them because you cannot get them with surface mounted LEDs. Now I can appreciate with that, but with blue in particular, That's just bullshit. Things have changed. You don't use these. And this one also, the other one was intermittent, wasn't it? So it's either this one, that one there was intermittent. Either way, that's that out. We'll get that to one side. Pitch control now. Let's get the 2 screws out for this, for the pitch control. So we've got 1, 2. These need to be replaced. There is no way around this. These need to be replaced. I tried them out earlier. They're just no good at all. He's got the clear LEDs for the blues. Clear LEDs way too bright. You can dull the brightness down on these. Again, there is no excuse anymore for having things like this. Well, we've got calibration set at as well while I am here. We'll get my cheapy soldering iron to do this, peeps. My little unit soldering iron, which is very handy for continuity. Let's, what's this episode called, Jay? Pandora's Box. Just another fuck turntable, mate. Right, let's see the readout readings for this. So we've got 2.8. Someone's been watching my video, haven't you, me old mate? I knew it. I fucking knew it. Someone's been watching my video. But the question is, how new is the slider that's in it? How new is the slider without me desoldering the unit itself? Hang on a second. In fact, fuck this. Do you know what? We're going to do this. We'll do this properly. We'll leave that to the side just for a second. We're going to take that apart. But that's been that's been calibrated. Not to the usual settings, and we know why. Take the arm out. In fact, what we'll do, we'll leave. Now, I'll tell you what we'll do. Leave one of the screws in for a second. We will take these off. Take the plate off. How's everybody doing then? Multimeter and soldering iron? Yep. Yeah, well that's actually surprising. Right. I love this. This is what I love to see. So yeah, that's just what I thought. My customer had audio problems. Now I can see straight away why he's got audio problems. For the eagle-eyed viewers of you out there will realise this actually hasn't got a grounding cable. And you know what the reason for that would be, don't you? That's a new cable, or meant to be new cable from 2020, I think that said. What we're going to do with that is quite simple. We are going to heat my soldering iron up like this. We're going to make sure that my lovely super duper desoldering thingamajiggy is out of the way as well, doesn't melt into any fucking cables, because this is just set up loosely so I can do this video. We're going to cut the cable tie. So this is where things get a little bit disappointing, guys, because the soldering quality of what I see is actually not that bad. Let's show you this. Hang on. So here's your RCA cable. Obviously there was a cable tie around there. Before you all say there wasn't, there was a cable tie around there. What's wrong with that picture, peeps? If you're used to looking at these turntables, what's wrong with that picture? Try and look at this at the same time as you're doing that. For a start, we can see that the black and obviously the black and green connection, the black connection's no longer there. And he's gone straight to the green on that one there, into the original earthing point for the arm. Well, for a start, if you're actually going to internally ground a turntable, that is not the way you do it. This green arm here actually goes directly to the other point of the tone arm itself. The soldering here actually isn't very good, but the actual points on here are not that bad, not the worst of sim. We're going to desolder these, and I'm going to desolder these as well, and just state exactly what this is. So give me just a second, I'm going to get these desoldered. Still got a fair few people watching this video, haven't we? Sweet. Right, let's get, do I use my desoldering iron on this one? No, we'll leave that heating up and we will use, let's use my Weller iron on this, shall we? Just to, I ain't got my fume extractor or anything turned on at the moment, so for you eagle-eyed lot go, oh, he's not using the fume extractor. I haven't got one set up on this bench because this wasn't designed for me to do this. The bench I'll do my soldering on is to my left. Now usually whenever you desolder something, it's always easier to add new solder onto the old solder. There's a reason for that too. I'm not going to go into too much detail, I'll give away too much of my information, but this should be common sense to anyone that actually knows what they're talking about. One of the cables on the, well, the red cable for the right hand side cable is actually frayed on the outside and burnt. Hang on, I'll show you that in a minute. Desolder. I don't use too much of my really nice, good quality solder. I'm removing someone's shit job. So these cables on the floor over there, out the way. Fuck's sake. Right, we'll apply some. What one shall I use? Let's use my cheap. Actually, let's use the cheap solder again. Get all this stuff off. Yeah, this is going to get a whole new lease of life pretty much tomorrow. Hey, how you doing, bud? Right, the cable, I'm going to take that off and show you that separately, actually. We'll use the... For those of you that know your desoldering gear and know the equipment, will be able to tell me straight away what this is. I haven't turned the fucking thing on, which would have helped, wouldn't it? Let that heat up for a minute before I do any more work with this, actually, because that needs to be heated. But there is no excuse for this, and I will show you this very quickly. So this basically, guys, is the cable that connects from your tone arm, that connects to the top end of the pitch, that grounds it to the actual chassis itself, and it also usually has the original grounding cable connected to this. Now, it depends on what way you want to obviously supply your grounding cable. You either go back onto the original stem on this, or you obviously solder back onto the earthing point of the PCB. Doesn't really make a difference what way you do it, but either way, as long as that is touching that point of the board, which goes to the grounding section of that board, it's grounding the turntable, you're good. But the way that this has been done is bad. And if you look at the state of the soldering on this, and how much of a blobby mess we've got there, because that isn't just cut the original soldering, that has physically been soldered in that way, that's going to be stripped down, or might even just remove the cable, because the way that is, you can see it's been pinched. Depending on how badly pinched that is, I may very well just take the connectors off, or I might even just make a couple of new connectors with some spacer hole connectors and just resolder a new cable. We'll put that down to one side for the minute. Is this heated up? Is that heated up all right? Yes, it has. Right, okay. So we'll just desolder the board. Now, I retired my old desoldering station gun, when was it, beginning of last year I think it was, maybe even the year before that. So I had the older model of this particular iron, brilliant bit of kit. It just gets to a point where you know you have to start, instead of changing things every 5 minutes because things are heating up as well. I mean, they're expensive. That thing was about 400 quid, it was bloody expensive, and there's not really a great deal of difference between that and my older one, but it works. You know what I mean? It works how it should do. It's designed to work and do what it should do. You've got variable heat on it as well, which the other one obviously had, but I'm not too bothered about being too gentle with these boards, because if they are a load of old turd, then the boards will be going in the bin and new boards will be going on. Usually I brush this, cotton swab them. I just want to see what the quality of the actual points are like. And we'll be able to see this in a minute, so I'm going to take these off once I've done this. So continuity testing, guys. Basically what continuity testing means is you're taking between end to end to make sure you've got a direct connection with no breaks, and to make sure you get a solid connection. So if you've got, say for an example, tone arm issues, and you've got issues with audio, things that come out of one speaker and not of the other, and maybe you'll either wiggle the cable, maybe wiggle your connector around on your head shell, 1 minute it works and it doesn't. Usually that is nothing to do with your cables, that's down to the point connections that are inside the arm. But if you get things where you can move it around as much as you want, but nothing happens, and even after you clean the connectors and they're nice and clean, you're still having problems, usually it's either this side of the deck that you need to be worried about, hence why people send them to me. So continuity, you hear that beeping noise? So the idea is to test point connections. The grounding point, for an example, you go to the other grounding point of the arm, which is near the black cable, and you hear that buzz, so we know that's a nice firm connection. We'll go for the earthing port on the left hand side of the RCA, which will be down here. That's nice, there's no interference between any of these points with these cables. Left hand side, lovely and clean. Everything else is good. Right hand side, lovely clean, no interference from any other connector. Right hand side earthing, spot on, no interference. There is no excuse for doing what's been done on that. So to internally ground one of these, there's a couple of ways that you can do this. I'm not obviously going to start telling you how you do this, but that's not the way you do it. This has been done. That is just a lazy way of doing things that can cause problems. There's a lot of myths around internal grounding. The obvious thing is this: if you're using high quality audio equipment, say for example you're not a DJ, even if you are a DJ and you're using things like valve amps or just very high quality passive speakers, even the power speakers, things that are bloody expensive, that you want the best possible quality, safest bet is to have a separate ground cable. I don't care what anybody tells you, it's always good to have a clean connection from the PCB grounding point to the mixer or your amplifier's grounding point, depending on what you're going to be using it for. So point to point connection. They're not, you know, flimsy grounding cables is one thing, but how often now do you really undo and move around a turntable gigging? If you're going to do that, have a removable cable. Doesn't make any difference. But it's each to their own, guys. If you want to do it, I'll recommend against it for my reasons I've just told you. But myths around it, never mind all this fucking long essay bollocks you see online, it's all rubbish. It can cause issues with high quality equipment, and for peace of mind, you keep the cable. So that's all been taken off. I'm going to take this arm off actually, and I'll show you. I will show you the screw's gone for that. I had him here 5 minutes ago. So the problem when I do things off the cuff like this, because I wasn't actually expecting to take this apart. Here they are. There we go. Right, they can go there. Now, the inner section of my dust cover is actually padded. So before you lot will go, oh my god, you scratched the hell out of it. No, the inner section's padded across the arm. I've already worked that one out. So, there's your arm, guys. That's how easy to take the arm out of it. You can see the quality of my desoldering gun, how I've cleaned the board up, how clean the board is. Nice and spanky, everything's all nice and shiny. That PCB can be reused. It is the original PCB. That is not a reproduction from what I can see. That is an original PCB, okay? The actual arm itself, well, the locking, well, that's just fucking shit. Look how easy the locking needs to move on it. That should be firm. Shouldn't move at all, really. It should be nice firm movement to lock them in, because if it's I'll say if there's too much movement on the threads, look how fucking easy that is to move. Also, because there's not enough petroleum jelly or lithium based grease, red grease, whatever you're going to put on this, because it's not thick enough and there's not too much on, the whole assembly moves. As you can see, you can hear it. Right? If you try locking that in, and you try moving it again, it's going to come off again, and it has. Look. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. So, that's not set right. Anti-skate on the unit. Hang on a second. Anti-skate's not far off. I'll give you that one. But that's not good about the arms. Look, I'm sorry. That's just bullshit. You should not do that. That can go to one side. So we know that's that. I haven't even checked the bearings yet. But I'm not even gonna bother trying to bodgely check the bearings on this. It has to be taken apart, and the bearings have to be checked. In fact, actually, hang on just a second. I can check the bearings while you're all here. Give me a second. You're not going to be able to see me do this on camera, because I'm not going to show you how I actually do this. But I will check the bearings. I hope those that are watching this appreciate just how much hard work actually goes into doing this job. Like I've said many times before, 90% of the work every week that I deal with is repairing other people's work, and that's not being big-headed, that is just the truth. Bodge jobs galore. So this is the arm out of the deck, right. Okay. So the bearing assembly on this one here looks good. I mean, it doesn't look buckled. Bearings all look okay. Let's just use my spudging tool just to see if I can move them around. Again, I'll take these out properly. That's free moving. That's free moving. So we've got bearings on this one look okay. That looks alright as well. I'm not going to taking that apart just yet until I clean it. But again, you can see if you look really carefully at the angle of this, you see how it's nice and straight here. And it angles down here. There's a rubber grommet here. You see how I'm moving that up and down? That's loose, and the grommet needs to be adjusted, and it even needs a new grommet to be fair. So the grommet needs replacing on that one there. That can go over here for the minute. Let's get this on a cloth. I don't want to scratch that. Hang on a second. Go on the cloth. You're getting mine done down here at some point, Marco. No worries, Billy. Scott, interested in your wrapping service. Can you tell me how long it takes? I will do, mate, at some point. But, well, I can tell you, actually. So, wrapping a turntable, no matter what you have done, is a 5-day turnaround. It's a 5-day booking slot between getting your decks to me, having the work completed, depending on if anything else is needed in that time period, you get your turntables back. Now, being realistic with this, if your turntables have never been touched, then what's more important, having the work completed to make them run properly or having them look good? There's no point having something look good if it doesn't function how it's intended to function. So maybe think about having them serviced at the same time. That's not some sales pitch or anything else, but I'm being honest with this. If you're sending me a turntable to wrap, it has to be stripped, has to be cleaned, everything has to be gutted out. I'm not wrapping over rubbish. Right, so it needs to be done. You might as well have all the work done at the same time. But wrapping, all the prices vary now depending on what you're going for. But we're going to rip the wrap off of this in a second. Super glued down. Is it super glued down? It looks like it's either glued it down quite badly. Put this on this angle now. So let's take out retaining screws for the spindle. Ideally without churning anything up. I've got loads of new replacement screws for these anyway, so that's going to be replaced regardless, because that's just shite. What time are we at, guys, anyway? Hang on. 20 to 6. The missus knows I'm doing this video anyway. I did pre-warn her and say I'm doing the video. She knows what my stuff's like. Loving the thermal compound, and that's a beauty. Wow, mate, you've outsold yourself with it. Fucking hell. Hang on. Jesus Christ. I'm fucking winning the awards for the amount of thermal grease you're popping down. Less is more. Not fucking more is more. There's a reason why it's called that. So, again. Let's get this shit off of it. I don't want to be popping this on one of my anti-static benches if it's going to be covered in fucking thermal, just to get the majority of it off, or I can put it in a bag or something else. Christopher Merritt, there is no better place to take your decks, mine and our faultless, and play the best they have ever done. Thank you very much. How you doing, Chris? You alright, mate? Andy was just going to say, pal, am I right in thinking these were supposedly serviced and butchered last year or recent? Yes, they were recently done. It was last year. I know they were last year. There's a reason why I know it was last year as well. That's no bullshit. I genuinely do. Yeah, they were serviced last year. He bought them online. I know where he got them done because he also told me after the event. Obviously, it's not very nice when you have work completed by someone and this happens, but when you're buying a set and you're spending good money and this is what they get sent, it's piss poor. So it's fucking thermal compound everywhere in this bloody turret. Why? It's got fuck all to do with any of that. Right. Ugh, I've got to change these gloves over once this has been taken apart as well. So that's the main board section completed on there. Spindle, that looks... yeah. That hasn't been taken apart. I can tell you it's been oiled, but it has not been taken apart because it's got the original brown oil. I don't know if you'll be able to see this on the camera either, but you look at the bottom and then look carefully at the top. Oh, come on, it's got to at least try and... Right, here we go. Can you see the difference in colour between that? Look at very carefully at the bottom and look at the top. Probably can't see it. It is loose moving. Oiling is fine. Realistically, 3 to 6,000 hours worth of use. No one ever knows how to oil them. That has been oiled, so from my point of view, that's okay to use, and it is free moving. If I'd have taken that out and it was barely being able to move, I would have said no, you can't do that. But that is in a working order. So things like the thrust plate at the bottom, they all tend to wear as well. That's not something that really... You can easily buy replacement thrust plates now for them though. Not the cheapest, unfortunately, but they are things you can get that do the job now. Right, let's take out power supply and the supply for the fuse. Let me quickly get my screwdriver. Hang on just a second, guys. Let's use my other screwdriver. Right. This is one of my bike screwdrivers because it's on a different side of the unit. So again, guys, if you're all going to start criticising things, please don't, because this is, this is, I was doing something else before I started doing this video while waiting. Come on, you bastard. There we go. Magnetic tips, always a beauty. So that's the two there. We're then going to undo the main 3 screws that hold down the power supply. My gloves decided to disintegrate. I went, instead of going for nitrile gloves, I ended up going for vinyl gloves, and bit of a big mistake. But because of the price of PPE and everything now, gloves are so fucking expensive. I mean, I was buying at one point 200, a pack of 200 nitrile gloves, so those blue ones that I had and the black ones that I had. They were costing me about £12 for 200, and I'd get through easily that in a week. So I'm very OCD with my gloves. But now I'm using these vinyl gloves. They're not that bad, but they don't last as long. They're not as hard wearing, obviously being vinyl and not nitrile rubber basically. So they tend to break quite easily. But the difference between buying 100 gloves for a £5, whereas now you're buying 100 nitrile gloves costing you about 15 quid. It really is a no-brainer. Plus I get through these every fucking day. It's a lot of money to be spending on something that, you know. Yes, it's a business expense before anyone says anything, but thinking how much it's costing me every week. Luckily for me, my other half obviously is a beautician, works in a beautician wholesaler as well, and all beauticians all wear gloves. And there is no difference between them, they're all medical examination gloves, so if they're good enough to stick your hand in up someone's arse, they're going to be good enough to stick in someone's turntable. The problem is they fucking break because they're vinyl, and because my hands are sticky, I can't get the bloody thing back in. Right, here we go. Christ, you wouldn't be using vinyl gloves up someone's arse, would you? Cough please, you know what I mean? You just would and you'd probably break. Ugh. Right, Lee, what have you said, mate? Hang on just a second, trying to touch the button. How you doing, Jay? Decks are still bang on, mate. Can't praise you enough for sorting them. They play better than new. Counting down for the sunshine now so the bike can come out. Laugh out loud, catch you. Mate, you are more than welcome. Yeah, trust me, I know the feeling. The Aprilia's gone now. Piece of shit. I'm never touching one of them ever again. 3 weeks later, another one outside. No, I'm not touching one ever again. I've got an R6 now, Lee. 2007 plate. Fucking beauty. Absolutely gorgeous. I'm not going to lose my licence as much either. So, right, let's get the board out. This is what you're meant to do. Let's get this out of the way. We'll check the... Actually, we'll do this last. It's the final piece of the puzzle. What we're going to do now, while we've still got time, is have a look at the main board and see. Like I said to you, I've got a funny feeling this hasn't really been touched. Again, this isn't my static bench. No one judge. Right, so... Excuse me. This just gets better and better. So this must have had a problem at some point. Either had a problem, or he's just randomly chosen areas which he thinks has the specific issues that, like the. Now on a car, you got what we call the free amigos. I say we call them. I don't call them that because I don't drive a car. But you got the free amigos, the things that you usually check when issues go wrong or start to catch fire. Like if you've got a problem with something and you know what 3 things to check usually in the motor trade. I've got my own version of what I class the free amigos as with these boards, and if I take the camera off of this, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Hang on a second. Darren, how long before he changes his bike? Answer on a postcard. Yeah, in fact, you know what? We'll do a competition on how long it's going to take me before I change my bike, but I'm not even going to say I can't see it going anywhere because everybody knows what I'm like with this. So yeah, nice one, Mr. Fletcher. Lee, R6, nice little weapon without the Italian bite. Yeah, mate, don't even go there. Fucking thing. I'm glad it had a warranty. That's all I'm saying. Right, let's turn the camera around. You lot don't want me waffling about bikes when you're watching these turntables. Right. Now, from an outside point of view, if you didn't know what you were looking at, can you see anything that looks different on these decks? On this main board, even? If you look here, look at the colour of the solder, and look at the solder on everything else surrounding the area. IC301 has been either replaced or dotted with solder. I'm going to say dotted with solder. Now, if you look at the... what have we got then? Got motor and obviously pitch ICs. Have a look. So, this one here in my hand is the motor IC. That has been resoldered. Hasn't really been cleaned after solder, but that's been resoldered. But the pitch IC hasn't been touched. That's interesting. Your typical Q201, That's been re-soldered by the looks of things. That definitely has been touched. Then we've got down here. This is going to be interesting. So, diode hasn't been changed. These haven't been changed. But these have been resoldered. And so is this resistor. But nothing else on the board's been touched. Oh, hang on. No. The stator's had new solder as well. It's very flippant on what's been touched and what hasn't been touched. This is what I class as laziness. So, why wouldn't you? If you're going to reflow something, why wouldn't you reflow everything? I know, tell you exactly why you wouldn't reflow everything. Because time. It takes time to do it. But yeah, you can clearly see what has and hasn't been touched. See, he's probably sitting there right now defending his work. It's like, no, you can clearly see what has and has not been touched. For no reason. Right. Camera's being turned around again. Let's pop this back on its little stand of love. Stand of love. Oh, fuck's sake. It's all good fun, guys, isn't it, eh? Right, so next step. Let's get this over here. I'll get this on my other little desk over here. Hang on. What should we look at first? Should we look at the pitch control first, or should we look at the plinth? Let's do, what is the time? Let's do the pitch control. So, like I explained earlier, this has had blue LEDs installed all over the deck apart from the on-off, the strobes, a tower assembly, okay? Now, this pitch control, I'm not aware if this has been replaced as new or anything else when the gentleman bought this, or if it's been rebuilt at any point. But that needs replacing. The actual click itself, the ball bearing and spring, is that just does not feel right. You can see by the pressure I'm putting on my hand when I'm trying to move it off of the click. Just ain't right. But the clear LEDs are a bit of a no-go really, unless you're going to dull down the voltage going to them. So you can put the resistor in line and you can obviously make them less brighter, which is something that a lot of people still aren't doing. The board is also actually slightly bowed as well. You can probably see that from there. It's because the LED itself, the way he soldered that in, it's put so much pressure on it to stop it from going through the housing at a certain angle like the other one. He's bowed it, pushing that on. Video frozen. Is the video still... Anyone else got a frozen video? Let me know if you've got a frozen video, guys, because if it's still frozen, I'll restart the video. Please do let me know, guys. Just one person to tell me it's still frozen. No, right, okay, wicked. All good. Thank you, guys. So, right, okay. What we're going to quickly... Again, this is the biggest bodge known to man in how you desolder something, but I'm going to do this so you can all see me doing this, so I'm not bullshitting. So there's no defending anybody's work or anything on this. We're going to use my disc. There's no tool or anything I've got on this side to do it, but I'm going to do this anyway by hand so we can all see it. Let's get rid of the points. Lovely. We are rocking. That should be that done with. I can turn that off now. Wicked stuff. Right then, peeps, we're still all good, yeah? So what we're going to do is check to see if the pitch has been bent round at any point. That looks like he's bent the pins back. Either this has not been touched, it's been left in place, or he's just reflowed the solder, or he has actually bent this through, because not a lot of people tend to do this. So what we're going to do is bend these pins back so I can actually take this apart. I'm going to take the pitch apart, guys, on video so we can actually see what's been done. So that one. Let's let that warm up just for a second. Hang on, peeps. While we're doing that, I'll grab my drink again. Mr. Fletcher, I'm watching and starting a new business next week called Just About Technics. I'm going to be fitting sync buttons to all turntable. I do love you, Darren. How you doing, mate? You all good, yeah? You caused me loads of grief over fucking Christmas for your little comments on Christmas Eve. My missus, bless her. With the whole when are you popping the question thing. We had that all the time. It's quite funny, really. I don't think she fucking wants me as a husband, mate. I could drive her nuts. Imagine me as me married. Jesus. Let's do this. Not kind of do this without you criticising. Hang on a minute. It's already desoldered anyway. In fact, that's already done. That one's already done. Use the nice expensive twiddly bobbly tool. There we go. That's how easy it is. So that LED there, if I use my cheapy little tester, where did I put my tester? That's the question, because I don't usually have to do this. Hang on a minute. Where did I bloody well put it? Oh, well, that's a good one. My tester seems to have just completely vanished on me. Okay. That's alright, we'll leave that for the time being. That can go wherever. It's going to go in the fucking bin anyway. So, pitch control. So using the good quality desoldering gear, it's good. It does its job really well. Everything comes off nice and easy. So, board's in good condition. Again, I can check that continuity, check to make sure there's no breaks, etc, etc. We have got a -2 slider unit. That is a genuine -2 slider unit on there. It's a bit greasy, a bit grubby. But again, I'm not judging anything until I open it up. But in my experience with this, it's not the first pair I've done from said company. These all seem to be working off a bit of a pattern. I don't know about you, but if I sell a brand new turntable, unless they're in fucking good working order and their original spec, I do not keep the original sliders on because it is utter pointless to do this. Right, let's open this up. Hang on just a second, guys. I'm going to open this bad boy up. Hang on. Let's do this like this. Let's just get this open. Again, not my usual way of doing this. This is only going to probably go in the bin anyway. There's boxes upon boxes upon boxes upon boxes of old, faulty units. Or old units, just in general. Just my own peace of mind. I want to see if this has actually been stripped down. I think it has been, purely for the fact that the solder points have been reflowed, but nothing else had been. Yeah, that's been stripped down and cleaned. So again, that has had, looks like lithium grease has been applied to this. The fucking hell. Hang on. Where's my cotton bud on this? Hang on a second, guys. You know I like to cause trouble. Yep, I bloody well do. Well, considering this has been stripped down, and I know for a fact it has, as I can see it has. Check out how dirty the bristles are. You see that? Hardly any pressure on this at all. You're probably going, well, what's that all about? It's not much. It all doesn't bode well. Doesn't bode well at all. Bearing in mind, I haven't put anything on this. This is just a cotton swab. If you don't use cotton swabs as part of your little weaponry arsenal pack, if you're repairing Technics, any electrical hardware, you really shouldn't be doing it. There we go. How dirty it is now. This has been put back together. We'll take the ball bearing and spring. Why is that so firm? Jesus, that it fucking hell. Hang on. Christ, that's... Oh my God, it just gets better and better. So, again, like anybody else in the trade who actually, if you're going to rebuild a pitch control, I take it you have got spare pitch controls just lying around. There's a box, everyone that's come in here laughs, there's a box of about 300 sitting over there, right? Years worth of use, all sitting there. But you've obviously got the plastic section that goes against the housing. I take it you've got one that isn't, it looks like you've cut the fucking thing, have you? Hang on, let me take this off. Let me take this off. I actually can't believe it. It's the first time, this is the first time I've ever seen anybody do this. These don't just snap on their own. Look at that. Can you see how far across each side is? The other side's been cut. Why would you even put that back in? Why would you put that back in a fucking turntable? Cut absolutely caked in grease. For those that are wondering, by the way, so let's show you this. Look, so that's massive. It's fucking overkill. Overkill to the extent you can't, again, lithium grease, you're not really going to see it that badly on a video. But for those that are wondering about removing the ball bearing and the spring out of a pitch control and what that basically entails and why I don't charge for this if you're doing a service, some people do charge it. Fucking new gloves as well. Basically, there's a spring there you can see on the edge. The spring, basically, you take the whole assembly out, you take the spring out, you stick that in the bin or stick it in your spares pot, which I'm going to do with that. And then you take that out, nothing's there, you put everything neatly back together again, back into the housing as so, put the board back on, and that's your ball bearing and spring removed. But it doesn't just end there. Like I said on my last video, you have to bypass to actually make that more beneficial for you, but you are going to lose a slight amount of range. Oh, for fuck's sake, hang on guys, hang on. Ugh. Just want to clean me. Don't want to change my gloves again. There we go, that's another old cloth that I've got. That's a bit better, right. So yeah, what about the board? I mean, that's the board. Again, let's pick another bit. Let's do, that's new gloves bearing in mind. I've just cleaned them, look. It's clean, ready? Let's get it nice and in there, shall we? Hang on. I'm saying nothing. Just out of curiosity, how clean can we get this board up? Just to try it, just quickly. So it needs replacing regardless, it's not tracking right. Moves way too fast off the 0 point, and the fact it's a -2 slider, it shouldn't really have any movement. I mean, you can see the difference now from me just doing that. See how shiny it is now? It is worn. If you look at 3/4 up near where my little finger is here, look, and you look at the board, it's worn. You can see it. He's having problems with it anyway. Both of his decks he is. We're going to keep this to one side. I mean, that's not, only thing that would have been going on was my Christmas tree, which is actually still in its box from last year. I didn't even put a tree up this year. I was too fucking busy. So we'll just stick that wherever the fuck I want to put it, to be honest. Let's stick it on one of the old gloves. If my customer wants these back, he can have them back, can't he? But I doubt it. They're going to go in the box or thrown straight in the bin. Load of old shit. Right, that's that. What's the next thing we're going to check? The pot's going to be replaced on that anyway, so it's pointless showing you any of that. We've already checked the calibration settings. Let's do the plinth. It's the last thing, really. So guys, this is where the fun all started with this turntable. I could tell straight away from looking at it, this wasn't obviously a genuine original, and the graphics are no. They look stretched, to be honest with you. They look fucking stretched. They don't look original in the slightest. If you see these in person, you'd agree with me. What we're going to do, just out of pure curiosity, because I need to remove the wrap anyway, and the trims are also being replaced, is remove the vinyl off of the trim, because this guy's put vinyl on it. Where's my knife gone? Yeah, he's put vinyl over the pitch trim. So he's made his life harder by wrapping it over the pitch trim. And I want to see how bad the trims are underneath, if they're bad for a start. Right, this is put on purely to cover scratches. You see where I've pulled this back up? You see underneath? This vinyl's been put over the top just to hide the scratches. Look at all this, look. In reality, you could just left it on there. I wouldn't even bothered, because they're the shitty old ones anyway. Look at the state of it. You see that on there? That's the original trim. That's not just where I've taken it off and that's adhesive. That's markings and scratches on top of the actual trim. You can see it. If you've seen enough of these turntables, you will know. But that's just ridiculous. That should have been removed anyway. We're going to remove the trim. The entire deck itself is going to be wrapped anyway. Got to remove the pop-up housing as well, but I'm not going to do that on video. That's boring. Take me 2 seconds to do that. Take these old trim off. Again, I've got a specific tool that I use for removing these, but for the purpose of just doing this on a video, just to see how bad underneath and how close he has wrapped this or not, just for comedy value, to be honest. So what I've done now, look, taken off the actual trim surround that you can see, you've got all the horrible adhesive underneath. What you normally do with that is either a plastic blade's usually the best way of doing it. A set a couple of different adhesives that you can use to go on there that will then rough the area up and smooth everything off. There's many things that you can do to remove these without damaging anything. But my original point was this. If I quickly, again, turn the camera around, you could now see to the extent of how far he's wrapped it. So you can see here that none of this is level, because obviously he's wrapped around the original trim. You can see here where he's, in fact, fuck me, look at this. Now you know that I haven't done this. Look at this, look. What's he done? Start there, go down, slip and scratch over the plinth. That's a cut mark. That's a cut mark as well. How the fuck's he managed that? I love this job. I love this job. Oh, Christ. Yeah, you see, now that's definitely, if I get my little spatula tool quickly. See, now this bit here, that's where he's picked it back. So he's scuffed it. He's gone across with his blade and gone over here. He's obviously, look, you can see, that's it, look, that's as far as he went. You can see where he's cut it. It's a very clean, straight cut there. He's done it here too. Shall we take the wrap off quickly and have a look what's underneath it? Let's see if my judgment was correct on this or not, because I have a feeling that the wrap underneath, the paint underneath may have been removed. I don't know. I'm not too sure, but this isn't looking very good either way. So let's start it from. Fuck it, we'll start from underneath, because obviously that's where he did his stupid little overflang. So you'll also be able to see the state of the turntable before it got wrapped, so you'll give an idea of how old and battered these decks actually are, because a lot of people tend to just get these, throw a wrap over the top and just think, oh, that's alright, no one can see. But if you don't do things properly, such as this, you'll know straight away. Fuck's sake. Yeah, the customer didn't even know this was wrapped. Which is even more worrying, really. And you can't exactly sell this as an original, can you? This is air release vinyl. So air release vinyl, guys, you get a bit of movement around on the wrap before you pop it down. Jesus Christ. You still got people watching? Who's still alive? Who's watching? My gloves decided to rip after that. That's okay. Don't really want to be too much longer, because Mrs. Bless is going to be waiting for me, but I've got to do this. I promised you I'd do this on video. You can see obviously what I've taken off and what I've left. Usually I'd say heat, but I'm not that fussed about this at the moment. I just want to get the bloody thing off. Yeah, this is going to look nothing like this. Nothing like it at all. Both of these decks will have the same treatment starting tomorrow. Glove look. Problem using vinyl gloves are just they rip apart so easily. I can usually, sometimes I've worn one pair of gloves lasted me half a day in the past. Like I showed you all originally from this, the actual graphics, oh my fucking lord. The actual graphics are they're either transfers, dry transfer, or liquid based, water based acrylic. Either way fine. It won't put on properly. That's already lifted. I was right about a few things, guys, and I'm going to go over this in a second to show you exactly what I was right about. This isn't so much a problem, but you've got to do it right. I mean, this is I class as a bare minimum job. This is like you're making life harder for yourself doing it the way that you've done it. And how people don't notice this, I just don't get it. It's even wrapped underneath the blood. It's even wrapped underneath the fucking assembly. That's ridiculous. Jesus Christ. Luckily for me, I don't actually, well, there's a few wrap ones I've dealt with over the years, but I think you lot will need to start looking at your wraps. I was absolutely right about the sanding. You know, I said about the sanding of the edges. Billy, did you say there needs to be an adjustment if you remove the click from the pitch? No, if you remove, well, you obviously have to make sure that it's the right value on the potentiometer when you've got it set back at 0. Then obviously you're well away. I'm not going to tell you what that is, obviously, but you do need to do that, yes. Sometimes you don't, depends on what you've done to the pitch, but yeah, you will need to make an adjustment, I'm pretty sure of that. But like I say, if you're removing a ball bearing and spring, you can't just remove the ball bearing and spring. It's pointless because you're having the lock still there. You've got to remove the lock. If you remove the lock, then you're going to probably lose a bit of range when you bypass it. So honestly, not worth the hassle. If you really want to have a pitch control that does not have a ball bearing and spring, do the old school method. I can just install the M3D pitch in a Mark II. You're not going to have the green lamp. You're going to have continuous pitch through there. If you set it in the right way, you'll be fine. No matter what anyone fucking tells you. It works. It works. This won't obviously have the lock at 0, and you will not have your green lamp. Because obviously the M3D and the Mark V, they have the reset switch. Nearly there, guys. No, it's not the most exciting thing to watch me do, but love to know what this vinyl is. These ain't the good stuff. The stuff that I use. That's the stuff you meant to use. It's air release, so it's obviously made for outdoor surface. It's made for contour use, but this is not. I feel a feeling the reason he uses this wrap is because it's a bit thicker. So it covers over any impurities on the actual turntable. So if it doesn't sanded it down properly, you can't see what it is, if that makes sense. Right. How you doing, Mike? Good to see you watching, bud. Happy New Year to you too, mate. Right. That, boys and girls, is pretty much that wrap taken off. There's a little bit there that I've missed. Literally just this bit here. It's absolutely fuck me, how lazy. Watch this, guys. If I pick this forward, the amount of fucking wrap. Just all here for absolutely no reason. And you're wasting wrap as well. Right, you know what I said to you about him sanding the edges down because he's probably noticed that it's all chipped and nasty. That's exactly what's happened. You know I said how about it seemed too round on one corner? Have a look at it. So if you look here, see how it's all different colour here? He's obviously went to absolute town either with a sanding block or an orbital sander. And he's gone, it's round here to flat here. And you can see it. And you know I'm not bullshitting because you could see me mention that the minute I started this video that it rounded off more here than it does up here. So he's gone to town at that. He's keyed over the graphics, but hasn't been bothered to actually key off all of it. You can see where he's gone to town on that. Me, if you'd have gone that deep, I would have got rid of everything. Just removed everything. But this is the thing. It's all round here. It's all round here. You can see it. You can see the cut marks I was telling you about as well. Hang on, if I get the camera in a certain position, you might be able to see this. This is the last thing I'm going to be doing before we call it a quit. So I'll quickly show you this, guys. Hang on. Right, so like I said, you can see it very clearly. Here, look, see how it's rounded? Just pure guesswork. You can see it's thicker there and goes thinner here. Thick to thin. You can see where he's gone over here. 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 Didn't bother taking all the graphics off. All round here. You can see it. You can see it here. Look. But yeah, the cut marks, you can see them better now, so you can see where he's literally gouged into this. I mean, why? Look at all this, look. All here, look. Why? I mean, why would you need to cut any of this? If you're going down to here, why do you need to cut any of this? Jesus Christ. I mean, what blade are you using? Isn't a fucking Stanley blade or something? Or a cheap hobby knife? Jesus, you... Right, okay. Well, what can we say about that then, peeps? I mean, I'll put this back on here just for a second, because I don't really know where to start with. Obviously, this is the very first turntable. There's two of these, and they're probably going to be in very similar condition. Judging from the state of this, don't really want to be touching that, to be honest. That's just piss poor wrapping. Just for once doing this, I'd like to take something apart and be physically surprised about what I'm looking at. I mean, I've done work on other people's turntables many times, that people have had them looked at, repaired, serviced, etc. Not everyone does things wrong. A lot of the times it's user error. There's no disrespect to you guys that are watching, but sometimes you're just not going to please everybody. Everyone has customers you can't please, okay? Everybody does. But that's just not on. I'm sorry, but to sand something to that extent, wouldn't you at least make sure that both turntables match in that respect? Or if you've got a spare plinth that maybe is in better condition than this, maybe you change that over? I mean, are the bases even from... Yeah, the bases, the back one's from the 1210s. That's a good start. Is this one here from the 1210? Yeah, they're both from 1210 Mark IIs. So the actual rubber bases match the plinths. So the chances are these were probably on the original turntables, but there's no real way of knowing this. So you're putting your trust and judgment in the people that you pay to do the work, or the turntables that you're buying as a whole. I'm not saying that everyone's the same, because not everybody is. There's some fantastic companies out there that do work on these decks, do some great jobs. I've seen it, and you know, I can't fault that. But there are, unfortunately, a few bad eggs, we'll call them, that it's hilarious. There was one guy in particular, with this same person, had massive issues with his decks, called me up about them, explained the situation, what he'd had done, who he's given them to, and everything else. Sends them down to me, get them connected. Absolutely shot the bits. Pitch controls done wrong, calibration wrong, components needed on the board that was causing drifting issues, etc, etc. Minute my video finished, after I explained what the issue actually was, the fucking bloke had actually contacted the customer and said, have you tried looking at this? Seriously? Shouldn't you fucking know if you do this for a living? But yeah, so we have brand new pitch controls that are going in these beauties. We're going to have a new wrap. Once my customer has decided what wrap he's going to be going for, we're having a new wrap installed, and most rest assured the wrap is going to look... it's going to knock the shit out of what this has done. So there's going to be fresh wrap on there. We don't know what colour we're going to do it yet. Oh, well, I've got to say thanks to yourself, though, because obviously you've already saved me half a job, but I do need to prep down the rest of this turntable to make sure that the wrap actually goes down exactly how I want it to. So it's not smooth enough for my liking, so this needs to have some serious work doing to it. I'm going to try and do something about these edges, either to take the emphasis off the fact that they're quite round and just go over it, maybe skim them off just a little bit, make sure both sides match. And just, more importantly, make sure everything is nice and smooth and level, because that just, to me, is pretty obvious. And it's the worst colour you can do that on as well. But yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. So pitch control has been rebuilt, not cleaned properly at all. Arm assembly has been rebuilt, greased, not greased enough to be honest with you. The wrong type of oil used on the locking system. So lock even work, lock still works, that's a good start. Switches needed changing for 33 and 45. Old style bullshit, no excuse for the pop-ups, that needs to be done. Oiled the spindle, didn't rebuild it. Now, to be fair, if you're paying for a service, that really should be rebuilt. Now, the older style spindles that have the plastic caps on the bottom, I can appreciate they are a pain in the arse to do. But the way that you do that, you can do this without removing them. You can clean and flush things through without removing them. But things like that, the newer style spindle with the single E-clip on the bottom, that can be easily removed. It takes about 5 minutes to take it apart. And there is no excuse as to why that has not been done. So if the fact you haven't oiled the spindle by removing it and cleaning the system out says it all really, but the plinth, there's no real excuse. Yeah, there wasn't really any scratch marks or anything on top of the plinth. Fair play to you there. That's not saying that's bad, but the edging, the fact that it's picking, the way that you've wrapped them round, well, let's be realistic here. You've left the pitch trim on. You couldn't be asked to take the pitch trims off, use a surgical blade or a really good quality blade, at least a good quality blade, to cut around once the trim's off and put it back on. Then have the audacity to put vinyl down on top of the trim to cover it over. Self-pride springs to mind. You know, I mean, wouldn't you feel better knowing that you've done this for the customer that's going to be getting these decks? You know, how happy is the customer going to be when they get these and go, fucking hell, look how clean that is. Oh my God, it's got a new trim. And, you know, don't you want to do that? Why do you have to skimp? You know, it's not very expensive. Do it properly. Do it fucking properly. Don't skimp on LEDs. If you don't know how to do it, you really shouldn't be touching them, is the truth. But if you don't know how to, if you look at putting bright LEDs in there, too bright, do your homework and find out what you can do to dull the LEDs down. It is doable. It's possible. If you know what you're doing, you can do it. It's not hard. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you. And anyone in their fucking right mind wouldn't tell you, to be fair. But that's not on. So there we go. So we've got another Technics 1210 Mark II, which has been in from the same person, same issues. And this isn't the first rub I've had this with, but this is enough now. That's just not very good. I mean, the second turntable now is going to be stripped down and very similar to this tomorrow. I probably won't do that on video. There's absolutely no point in doing this on video. So that's going to be stripped down tomorrow. We'll start off with prepping up these plinths. Once my customer's chosen his wrap, we're going to wrap these plinths up. Take me all day to get the wrapping done. Don't care what anybody says. Do this in an hour or something. No, you need to keep doing it again and again. Trial and error. Prep. Piss poor prep gets you nowhere. This is a rush job, and if it's not a rush job and this is your best, you shouldn't be fucking touching. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yeah, even things like inside the plinth. Look at where the screw fixtures go for the actual transformer itself. I don't know if you can see that on there. They're absolutely fucking filthy. Look at that, look, that angle. This just appears to me like any other job that I see in. You know what I say before, where you get people that just want the money and fucking get it back to a customer. This just seems exactly like that. Exactly like that. You know, okay, once it wraps, so we'll quickly take everything out. We'll quickly give the top a quick clean. We'll sand down the edges and get them as close as we think they possibly are. That'll be okay. We'll leave the pitch trim on. So you sanded around the pitch trim. Really? Doing that? No smoothing over or anything? It seems like you use one particular grade of sanding paper on a sanding block or on an orbital to do this. Quite clearly see where you've hacked into it. I mean, you can just see from looking at that side. I mean, you can see where he's gone over there. Just remove it. Do it properly. The idea is to do it once and not have to do it again. Make sure your customer's happy with what he's got. It's If anybody else out there has turntables like this, I don't really know what to say, if I'm honest. I really don't know what to say. I hate badmouth. I hate badmouthing people. Like I say, I wish I could take something apart and be pleasantly surprised. Not like, oh my fucking God, here it is. I knew who'd done this before I'd even touched it. I've spent years, literally years, wrapping, using 3M, authorised to use it. And when I see things that come through like this, just makes my blood boil. I mean, fucking hell. You're spending good money on this stuff. I hope you're not spending good money on it. It's the truth. I mean, look, let's be honest here as well. If you haven't paid a lot of money for the wrap, the work itself for the wrap, do you know what? Fair play. If it's cheap money and you're paying cheap, you're going to get cheap. Buy cheap, pay cheap, get cheap. Pay cheap, you've got to pay twice because you haven't done it again. If it was cheap, okay. You know, but if you're paying top dollar for these wraps, you need to start being very careful. Because the fact that you'd wrap it and not bother to do the trim, that just says it all. And the fact you scratch the shit. What about the fact, okay, look at this another way. This was obviously bought, and this was bought by a customer. Both of these were bought by the same person. He sent these out. I know who you are. Your stickers, you know, I know who you are. You send these out to a customer. You've done your work to them. All well and good. Another email come through. If you do your work to them, send it out. Okay, probably don't know any different. But what about if you got a customer that sent you their decks for you to do this? What if the customer's had these since the late 70s? What if he's had them since 90s? Whatever. What if he's had them from new and these were his babies from new that cost him £1,000, say for an example, right? He's paid £1,000 from new, never been touched by anybody, and he's contacted you because he wants you to service them and he thinks they're in the hands of somebody that's quite capable of doing everything professionally, properly, and knows they're in good hands. You get hold of them, you do exactly what I've just shown on this video and send them back to the customer, and the customer is none the wiser until he obviously takes these apart and has a good look. Don't you feel a little bit disgusted knowing that you've done this? You've scratched internally a turntable that probably wouldn't have had any scratches. You know, you've scratched down the plinths to get the wrap on, so take it for granted now that's what you do with these. So scratching down the plinths, not even doing it evenly, maybe even taking these to a... Look, let's be realistic, if you don't have the tools to do it or the proper tools to do it, take it to a car place. Paint stripper, they'll fucking get this, so vapor blaster, speed blaster, they'll blast all around this. You could say, you could take it down and sand parts, section parts off and say to them, can you blast this for me? But obviously don't take the tape off. So you could have everything inside all taped off with your tape and things, so they know not to blast. So everything around it gets blasted, but obviously the bits that you tape off won't be. So surely they're always around it. There's no such thing as you can't, right? That's the thing, when it comes to prep like this, that's the thing as can't. You either tape it off, mask it up and do it properly, or you don't do it and you give it to somebody else and tell them what you'd like to have done, or you simply don't know what you're doing and don't touch it. So, and I'm afraid this isn't the first deck that I've seen with a wrap on like this that has had various different cut marks where the blades have obviously slipped onto the plinth. It's just absolutely terrible. Roy Edmonds, if you're watching, bud, I am getting your messages, mate. Obviously your booking request has come through, so Jay, makes me glad I've booked mine in with you. Thank you. It took me ages to find someone I could trust to do a service on my decks. I've seen many too horror stories. It's crazy just how many people there are out there that don't take pride in their work. It wouldn't be so bad. I mean, it still is, but it wouldn't be so bad if they do the service work correctly. If you send a deck in for repair and they don't just change out a main board, they actually do the repair work, and you can see when I take it apart the repair work's been completed. You know, and you get it back and that's at least done. When the wraps ain't too bad, I can kind of forgive it. Rapping's an art form, guys. It's about as an art form as learning how to beat mix or anything else in life. It's an art form, it's a craft, it's a skill. You know, if you know how to wrap and you've got an idea of doing it, trial and error is a big thing. But you need to make sure you have the right tools. You need to make sure you buy using the right vinyl. This, quite clearly, is thick vinyl, and it definitely is going round where it wants to go round. But The way it's wrapped on the edges, the way it's wrapped underneath the deck, the way it's wrapped in the corner. The untrained eye, someone doesn't know about this, you won't know. I do from my background. I genuinely do. You need to think what my hobbies are, guys. You need to think what I've been doing for many years and what my skills are and what I used to do before this as well. So I can tell you now, it involves a lot of wrapping. Hence why I offer wrapping. If I couldn't do it, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't offer it. It's just another way of making money. If you don't know what you're doing, another way of making money. Oh, I can do that and doing a shit job. And that's exactly what this is, unfortunately. But yeah. You'll be glad you booked me with me, Jay. They're going to be done properly, mate. And everybody else is watching this as well. I can appreciate that. Some people might watch my videos and think, what a load of shit, he's talking out of his arse. But I'm sorry, if you think I'm talking out of my arse watching this and watching me take a part here and explaining thoroughly as to what's been done, you really don't know. It's not being big-headed, it's just knowledge. Knowledge is a big thing. I've been learning this for a very long time, years now, years. And this just makes me sad. It makes me sad. It makes me sad knowing that you paid out more money to get this done. You paid out once to get the work completed badly, and you pay out again to have the work completed and actually repaired and fixed. The work that you wanted doing. So there we go, peeps. That's deck 1 of 2. The second deck, if it is worse than this one, I'll do a video tomorrow on it, but I'm not gonna, don't go, you know, waiting on it because I don't know whether I want to. I'd rather just get, to be honest, I'd rather just get these done now. I'd rather just strip the other one down now, knowing the condition of this one here, prep them up, finish off basically what he started. And the good thing about this as well, bearing in mind, is you get your full warranty with it. You get your paperwork that backs everything up. So anybody that has any work completed by me, if you ever do get to a point of, if you fall into hard times or anything and you decide to sell your decks, at least you have something to back it up with. And if you do sell them on eBay, it works in your favour. If you sell them second hand, you've got a physical receipt from me. Paperwork receipt giving you everything, and the fact that they know it's been done by me, and this isn't big-headed neither. I've heard many people say this in the past when I've sold turntables. It's worked in their favour because they can see quite clearly that I've completed the work from the types of wraps, the graphics I use, etc. And the fact that it's got the receipt and people actually mention it. So many people don't mention who has sold their decks. I wouldn't want my name associated to this. Why the hell would I? Why would I? Again, mentioning no names, but this is, if you're watching, which I know you do watch my channels, I don't actually know who you are, and I'd like to find out who you are, to be honest. I'd like to. Think before you start doing this. Take a bit more pride in your work, please, because this isn't good enough. Whether you're older than me or younger than me, coming from a 36-year-old bloke, 37 in July this year, 36-year-old bloke, been wrapping these things for years, been wrapping all sorts of things for many, many years with my background experience, as well as electronics. If you can't wrap, mate, stop doing it, stop offering it, because all you're going to do now is piss more people off. And all I say, this is not the first one I've had. Otherwise, if it was, I wouldn't be doing this video. This is the point of now, enough is enough. Please stop. Because you're costing people more money. Darren, really enjoy watching. I'll get mine done. I'll give you a shout. Thank you, Darren. Mark, when the day comes that I need my babies done, I'm sending mine your way for sure. Thank you very much. Sean, does Kimberly have a wrapped Hoover iron? She did. She didn't have a Hoover vac, right? She did have though a masseuse table thing. She's got a little nail bed table. I actually wrapped that in a cherry red for her at one point. That was fucking decades ago. That was years ago now. Jesus, but yeah, no, washing machine. I had to start doing skins for that. That probably work, wouldn't it? Do a big like fridge freezer style skins like Star Wars or something, like Hans on the front of it like that, on the front of your fridge freezer. Yeah, I could actually do that. It's quite scary, boring as shit, but I could actually do that. Yeah, guys, again, thank you ever so much for watching. Entertaining, I suppose, isn't it? I'm now probably what 20 minutes, half an hour later than what I normally am. Pretty good timing, really. If you're watching, the customer, if you're watching, which I'm pretty sure you are, obviously I'm leaving now to go home, so if you do try calling, you're not going to be able to get hold of me, but at least now you've got some insight as to what's actually been done, and I'm hedging my bets to say the second one's going to be just as bad. Alright, guys, pleasure as always. The next time you see these beauties, they're going to look a hell of a lot different. So before and after pictures will be incoming. Take it easy, peeps. I'll speak to you later. See you later, guys.